Hello. Well, this is part 4. I kind of want to just get through this. I don't want to make it too long. And there's so many things in videos that you do that might be the most important things. I don't know. But there's just things that you can't tell, the really rough things. But my main point in these videos and this little playlist I'm doing is to tell you how the Lord kind of kept his hand on me, kept me safe, even though I made bad decisions. But who even knows sometimes? The people we meet, I really think about that and may talk about that at the end. Excuse me. Cut that out, Sandy. All right. But I forgot a couple things. I got to thinking about it, the last one. My parents did not go with us when we got married. Bill's parents, I just thought about that. His parents didn't go. A girlfriend of mine went with me. I don't know if Carol's living anymore. I don't know. Her name was Carol Jett. On the way there to the JP, well, Bill's sister did go, Maureen, and Bill's brother-in-law, Norm, went. That was very nice of them. I don't think I was ever Maureen's favorite for her brother to marry, because I wasn't a Christian, and she probably thought I was really wild. I guess in some ways I was, but in those days, there's nothing now, right? But there was another girl that I think she was favoring, a girl named Sharon, that she would have preferred. But she's saying that Bill loved me and, and nothing was going to change his mind, although she tried. So I give her credit. They went with us to the JP. They had, when we got out of there, I remember them throwing rice. They really tried to be festive about this. And then took us back to the house, and they had a little cake for us. And so she did try her best. She's gone home to be with the Lord now. And so has Norm. Maybe Carol has. I don't know. Seems like I'm always the only one living. Bill's gone, and the story, all these people are probably gone. But on the way there to the JP, we had a flat tire. Like, was that another one trying to stop me? I don't know. But maybe it was all meant to be, because I had 2 children out of this. Maybe it was all meant to be. And all my grandchildren, they wouldn't have been here. Who knows? It was one little thing in life can change everything. But so we had a flat tire. I do remember that. I just wanted to put that in there. And I remember my mother, bless her heart, even though she didn't go, she went probably downtown Hammond. It was the only place to shop. She didn't ask me what I'd like to wear. She was kind enough to buy me something, so whatever she bought, and she had good taste. But it was a little 2-piece. We were married in May 11th. But it was a little 2-piece outfit. The skirt was straight, a light kind of coral color. And it was that era what they were wearing. I guess that was in the 60s. 3/4 sleeve, a real cropped little form fitting, and a white hat, white purse, and white high heels. And he wore his uniform, which the legs were too short. I remember that. So, and off we went. Right after that, we headed for Texas to all that stuff. So, I just wanted to catch up on that part that I didn't. Well, we arrived in Texas. I don't remember the trip down or anything about it. Like I said, I was 18. Here I am, almost 83. So, it's a long time ago. But I do remember some things, like this is the first time I've been on my own and had a place of my own. I always lived with my parents, of course. So it was like playing house. It was kind of exciting at first. And then the Navy provides furniture for you. Oh my. They just pulled up in a truck and just dropped off. I mean, dropped off. Boom, threw it into the yard. I know there was a sofa. There may have been a chair. I'm not sure. Don't know what we did for table and chairs. I remember there was a refrigerator there. But the cushions, I believe there were springs inside them. And when you would sit on the sofa, you would just slide out. If it got go forward, you had to keep your feet on the ground. It was everything. It was pretty sad, everything. It really was. Well, I'd never been away from home. I didn't know a soul. My whole life was my husband. As I was saying before, he was a good man. He never hit me. He was good to me. But the drinking, it was above everything. When he was wanting to get drunk, it was number one, not me for sure. I mean, although, I felt loved by him, I really did. But maybe at 18 years old, I didn't know what love really was, Maybe I wasn't expecting much, I don't know. But so the same thing was happening. Sometimes he'd come home, sometimes he wouldn't come home. And when he wouldn't come home, that meant it'd be wee hours of the morning. So you've been like waiting all this time, or waiting all night long for him to come in, and not knowing what condition he was going to be when he did come in. I had no TV. I had no radio. I didn't have anyone to talk to. There was no telephone there. You'd have to go walk somewhere to find a telephone booth, or wherever you would on the base. I don't know where you'd call from. And all I had was a record player with a few records that I would play over and over and over until he got home. That was my dog barking in the other room. Okay, so, and another thing, when he did take me somewhere, it always involved drinking. And he got me into some pretty dangerous situations because he would get drunk and not look after me. And I was young and stupid, and I was drinking one night with him too. I will not even go into it, but and there's many things that I wanted to say, and I just can't, so we'll just have to let it go. Okay. So somehow or another now, I ended up coming back home. Can't remember why, but I know my mother was very upset because I was so skinny, 90-some pounds. I think I mentioned that before. I believe after this period of time, we just both went our own ways. There were times when we would write, times when we didn't. So he came home on leave. I know my mother did not want me to be with him because she's seen the condition that I was when I came home. I don't remember me ever telling her about him drinking. I don't know. We ended up being together, not at her house. And I ended up becoming pregnant for my son, Rusty. Now, Rusty is the one who passed away from brain cancer when he was 40 years old. He's a beautiful baby. During this pregnancy, I was getting an allotment check from the Navy, and during this pregnancy, I ended up going to see him. And I know my mother still did not want me to be with him, but his sister, the one that went with us when we got married, Maureen, she took me to the train station, I remember. I remember being pregnant, getting on the train. I rode that for a long ways and overnight. I think it was overnight. And it's the first time I've ever been on a train. And then I think I caught the train in Chicago. And then from there, I ended up on a bus, transferring to a bus, and rode the bus into Corpus Christi, Texas. From there, I wasn't on the base living. He had rented some small little place where the Navy guys rented. Once again, I knew no one. I was, as they say, pregnant. I didn't even have the record player this time. It was nothing. And cockroaches, I remember that. And I think they were called Great American cockroaches. And even in the bathroom, we're getting spray and everything, but in the bathroom there was a big, it was a black widow. I remember somebody talking about the male and female. I think the female is the bigger spider, and then there also was the male there, and it was brown. Yes. And once again, waiting for him because there was nothing to do. There was no car. I knew no one. I just didn't know what to do with myself, but just wait for him. And I remember hearing the girl next door, she had a girlfriend there, and I heard them talking, and they were talking about me because I heard one of them say, well, I would talk with her, but she seems to be stuck up. I think that was the words, what they said. And I wasn't stuck up, I just was shy, So, but someone there, another girl, and I don't know how I came in contact with her, I think through her husband knew Bill or something like that. Maybe Bill introduced us. And she lived a couple houses down. And I remember going to her while her husband was working at night. My husband was working at night, so I was at her house. I remember sitting in, I shouldn't tell this, but sitting in the chair, and she goes, Sandy, don't move, don't look, don't turn around. And I said, why? And she goes, there's somebody looking at you through the window. And then she went in and she got a gun and ran outside, and I heard her screaming at him. She was cussing, chasing him with a gun. And I guess the guy had been around before. Oh, crazy. It was really crazy down there. So it got so miserable. Oh, the reason I brought that up is because that girl, who had a very foul mouth, she dropped the F-bomb like nothing. But she somehow knew things about the Lord and invited me and Bill to church. So we went to this little church, and I remember singing some hymns. But she's the one that, she talked to me about the coming of the Lord and how the Christians are just going to disappear, just vanish, and the world's not going to know what happened. And I was quite interested in all of this. Like I say, I've always had an interest in the Bible, but I never had anyone to teach me or talk to me or shepherd me. But it kept that spark of interest. And there was a time, I remember when I was young, being with my cousin, Judy, in the housing project. I remember her and I, we were maybe, I don't know how old I was, maybe 10 or so, but talking, walking and talking. And we start talking about Jesus coming. And we were frightened, very frightened about it. Now, I don't know where we heard that. So I'm saying just little tiny seeds, it's the smallest of things were dropped in my head about the Lord. So I ended up, things got real bad with him not coming home. And me sitting there, I had a quarter, and I think I walked to a phone booth, and I called, and my brother Corky, who was living there, who was going through a divorce with his wife, he answered the phone. And when I heard his voice, I couldn't hardly talk. I would start crying. And I just told him, he says, ask Mom to send me some money I want to come home. And so I don't know why I didn't have any money. I don't know. But they wired me. She wired me some money to get a ticket to come home. And so I ended up back home again. So I'm going to quit here on this. And we'll be part 5 next time.